Lazarov to read us a very special greeting that Rebbe sent to Houston at the same time, approximately in the year, or just 1981. As I recall, it's printed in the front of your program book. It was a greeting that Rebbe sent to the dedication of the Chabad Lava Center, and it's amazing how the words of the Rebbe are applicable to this very time as if it was written today. Please rise for the Rebbe's reading of the Rebbe's letter. Specifically, and truthfully, it's not only the hard work of Chani or myself or the many volunteers that has made Chabad of Uptown the institution it is today. It is the trailblazers, the shluchim before us, and the energy given to us by the Rebbe to fulfill his mission and to realize his responsibility that we must reach each and every person no matter where they are. Once upon a time, there was a wise man who used to go to the ocean to do his writing. And he had a habit of walking on the beach before he began to work. And one day, as he was walking along the shore, he looked down the beach and he saw a human figure moving like a dancer. And he smiled to himself at the thought of someone who would dance to the day. So he walked faster to catch up. And as he got closer, he noticed that the figure was that of a young man, and he was doing anything but dancing. The young man was reaching down to the shore, picking up small objects and throwing them into the ocean. Pardon me. I guess that was the dance music he thought he heard. So he came close still and called out, "Good morning. May I ask what it is that you are doing?" The young man paused, looked up, and replied, "I'm throwing starfish into the ocean." "But why are you throwing starfish into the ocean?" the startled wise man asked. The young man replied, "Well, the sun is up and the tide is going out. If I don't throw them in, they'll die." Upon hearing this, the wise man commented, "But young man, do you not realize that there are miles and miles of beach and there are starfish all along every mile? You can't possibly make a difference." As if he hadn't heard, the young man bent down, picked up yet another starfish, and threw it into the ocean. And as it meets the water, he turns and he smiles to the wise man and said, "To that starfish, I made a difference." And we are all like, in the words of the sages, "Kenanas al gabe ha'anak," like midgets on giants' shoulders. A midget can see even further than the giant that he stands on. And the giants of this generation and of all previous generations give us the energy we need. And so we may ask, what is the impact of my seemingly small, insignificant deed? And the answer is that to that starfish, you made a difference, and to that person, you made a difference. And as we approach Purim, we are taught the Kibel HaYehudim Eis Asher Hechelu La'asos. The Jewish people concluded that which their ancestors began. What did they conclude? They concluded receiving the Torah, that which their forefathers began the process of receiving at the giving of the Torah at Mount Sinai. So we're taught that every generation continues this process of receiving the Torah, and each time we impact our environment, we are making the difference. The hatchet in the wood hands of the woodchopper, the axe can only accomplish with the power given to it by the hand that swings it. But where does this energy come from? The energy behind this all is you. Each and every one of you provide that energy. When you participate in our programs, in our classes, in our dinners, through volunteering, emotional, and of course, financial support, that is what allows us to continue our important work. And you may only participate in one of our classes, or one of our holiday events, or a Shabbos but you may not realize that your support touches the lives of a homebound senior with some love and camaraderie, or help a couple enhance their relationship, or give a troubled teen the hope that they need to overcome through their unique challenges. So we're very touched by the support that all of you have shown for Chabad of Uptown. I'd like to thank the event committee for their tireless efforts in making this event happen. All of everything you see here tonight, every detail could not have happened without the participation of our volunteers. And especially, as you'll see, we'll soon be having, not yet, we'll soon be having a presentation. But first, I would like to call up, we're pleased to introduce the Deputy Vice Consul of the Consul General of Israel, Honorable Maya Kadosh, to share some greetings on behalf of the Israeli consulate.
Friends of Chabad Uptown, it is a great honor for me to stand here tonight and thank Chabad on behalf of the State of Israel. As everyone that sits here tonight, the word Chabad has a personal meaning for me. I was stationed at the Israeli Embassy in Singapore when I got to know the amazing job of the Shluchim in Asia. For our little family, Chabad meant Leil Seder, endless Shabbat dinners, lunches, home away from home, away from the original home, in Thailand, Vietnam, China. It meant coming to a place where someone is always smiling at you, and a place at his table as well as in his heart. We became friends of Chabad, and as a young diplomat and a young couple, learned a lot about love for every fellow Jew, and above all about Jewish unity. For more than 3,000 years, we, the Jews, have faced challenges, the greatest challenges faced by anyone in human history. And we have overcome, to these challenges because of our unity and because of our faith. Today, the Jewish people are being challenged again, whether it is in the diplomatic, strategic, or nuclear realm. The sole democracy in the Middle East is being challenged. This is a time of historic transition in the Middle East. We are at the crossroads, and it is still too soon to predict the outcomes. Israel respects the choices of the nations in the Middle East, hoping that these choices that are made will promote a better future in our region. But we know that the path for freedom is a long one, and anti-democratic forces can take advantage of this freedom for their own goals. We hope that the people of our region will stand up against those who would deny them from a better and safe future. I think of it now, as I did in my army years, that whenever it was hard or cold or scary, or most of the time cold, there was always a group of Chabad young rabbis dancing around, singing, giving out food. And whenever any of us here in this room have any trouble and raise his head and see Shaliach of Chabad there with a good word, opportunity for education, we believe that these things now in the Middle East are going to turn for the best. Let me assure you, friends of Chabad, that the people of Israel know that you are the reason we have been able to overcome all these challenges, and we will be able to overcome them in the future too. On behalf of the government and the people of Israel, I would like to thank Chabad Houston for their activity here and around the world, and wish all of you good night.
A BS in education, Alan Shlomo Weingrad overcame long odds by earning a spot on the roster with the Green Bay Packers and on the 7-year professional football career. And toward the end of his career, Allen won a Super Bowl ring with the Dallas Cowboys, coached by legendary Jimmy Johnson, playing alongside Hall of Fame greats Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin, and Emmitt Smith. And Allen describes how the lifestyle he fell into after his retirement from professional football left a void that unwittingly led him to the Torah and mitzvahs and the process of becoming an observant Jew. In May, Alan was inducted into the National Jewish Sports Hall of Fame and invited to the White House celebrating Jewish American Heritage Month. And today, Alan is the National Marketing Director with the CJA and Associates, a nationwide consulting firm specializing in tax elimination strategies and estate planning options to business owners and professionals. Alan speaks to businesses, colleges, universities, and religious audiences around the world, bringing his inspirational messages of transformation, business and personal planning, excellence, leadership, team play, and spiritual connection. Please welcome Alan Shlomo Weinbrand.
I was watching a football game 8 years from my retirement from the National Football League. My wife walks in the front door. The 3 kids are upstairs fast asleep. She sits on the couch and starts talking to me. And I said, honey, the game's on. She says, I want you to know what happened tonight. I said, I know, but the game's on. It's a really good game. She said, I want you to know who I met tonight. I said, who did you meet? She said, I met a Rebbitzin. I said, what is a Rebbitzin? She said, I went to a Jewish Federation event with a group of ladies and I met this amazing woman, the Chabad rabbi's wife in our community. I said, that's called a Rebbitzin? She says, yes. And she was young, and she was interesting, and she was intelligent, and she was beautiful. And they invited us to their Chabad house next Shabbos. I said, I don't want to go. Can you move out of the way, please? I'm watching the game. She said, no, I really want to go. And men, you know what happens when your wife asks you 3 times. You don't have a choice. So I said, okay, fine, we'll go. 6 days later, I get up in the morning, I get my wife and my 3 beautiful children, and we load up in our Suburban. We drive 4.4 miles up the A1A to the Chabad in East Fort Lauderdale, and we walk in. The rabbi sees me, he greets me, and he says, Alan, we're so happy you can come. And he takes me by the hand, and he leads me to the front row of this Chabad house. That's called the 50-yard line. And there's a mechitza right down the middle, dividing the men and the women. My wife went on the other side with our daughters, and I took my son. And after a few minutes, a man walks up to me and says, what is your Hebrew name? And I said, Shlomo Zalman. He said, Shlomo Zalman what? I said, Shlomo Zalman ben Label. And he screams out, Shlomo Zalman ben Label. And I'm like, shh, what are you doing? He takes me by the arm, and he calls me, and he pulls me up to the bima. This is authentic Judaism. I was nervous. I was not comfortable in this playing field environment. But I saw what the man before me did, and it's customary that a man gets called to the Torah. And I remembered from my days as a youngster that I was going to get an aliyah, an opportunity to get a special blessing. So I get up to the Torah, and I say a bracha, and then someone reads out of the Torah, and then after I say another bracha, and then the gabbai, the man who calls me up, says, okay, Shlomo Zalman, who do you want to bless? And the guy before me, I saw what he did, so I did exactly what he did. So I said my wife's name. I said my kid's name. And then he said to me, who else? And I'm thinking, who else? I'm not really sure who else. So I look out to the congregation, and I recognize a couple of the men. And the guy sitting closest to me says to me, Sonny boy, hurry up, we're hungry. And I say to the gabbai, the man who called me up, I said, give this guy over here Yisrael, I know him, give him a bracha. And this guy Maishi, give Maishi a bracha. Then the gabbai says to me, anybody else? Now I'm starting to break out into a sweat, thinking I'm doing something wrong. I got 80 sets of eyes staring at me, and one of the guys is motioning like I need to move it along because he's hungry. And I say, I'd like to bless the soldiers of Israel and the protection of Israel. And then the gabbai says to me, anybody else? Now I'm in a full-fledged sweat. I said, yes, I want you to give the rabbi a blessing. You take the last blessing. And then he says to me in a very soft voice, only the 2 of us could hear, Packers or Cowboys? And I smiled greatly and I said, the Green Bay Packers. Even though I'm here today with my world championship ring on, with my days with the Dallas Cowboys, certainly proud of my Super Bowl ring. But I'm a Green Bay Packer fan, and I want you to know this is an absolutely beautiful venue and a beautiful environment. I really feel like you're giving me a party because of the Packers Super Bowl win. By way of introduction, I was born in Brooklyn, New York, and in 1972 my family relocated to Miami, Florida. 1972, I'm 9 years old, and I watched with passion the Miami Dolphins win every single football game that year. And as a 9-year-old, I became an immersed fan of professional football. Also at the age of 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13, I was like most of you in this room, being schlepped, kicking and screaming to Hebrew school, to learn about the history of the Jewish people, to prepare for my Haftorah, my Bar Mitzvah. And I want you to know, it was a very long and boring subject.
Accountant is having a hard time sleeping, and he's going to see his doctor. And he says, "Doctor, I just can't get to sleep at night." And so the doctor says, "Well, have you tried counting sheep?" He says, "That's the problem. I make a mistake, and then I spend 3 hours trying to find it." So we're now ready to honor our honorees. And every Thursday, we have, besides for the football games we play, we also have a battle that goes on Thursday lunch hour between various minds over various subjects. Most recently, it's been the Tanya. And
I thought it would be only appropriate if the actual words itself will not be presented by myself or by Chani, but by some of the lay leaders who know the honorees personally. And Bob was having trouble getting to sleep at night. He went to his doctor, who prescribed some extra strong sleeping pills. So Sunday night, Bob took his pills and slept well. And he was awake before he heard the alarm. And he took his time getting to the office. He strolled in and said to the boss, "I didn't have a bit of trouble getting up this morning." "That's fine," the boss answered, "but where were you Monday and Tuesday?" So as some of you may know, Dr. Gerald Simmons is a sleep specialist doctor, and we'd like to call up Dr. Maxine Epstein to present Dr. and Mrs. Simmons with the first honorees award.
They have made possible some of the most fantastic programs that Rabbi Chaim and Hani have given us in the community that all of us have benefited from. It is an amazing journey to discover that you can learn about yourself and your heritage, that you can have fun, that you can meet people that in a million years you can't imagine at a lunch hour arguing for an hour and a half over 3 sentences. It is a pleasure to be part of the group. Jerry's a member too, and a few others here. It is such an amazing thing to see adults rediscover themselves, reach out and bring in other people, find meaning in their heritage, and be able to communicate about it. And I'm just really honored to present to Irina and Jerry this award. And I'm honored to be a member of Chabad Uptown. I'm going to present this to you, and this is to Dr. Gerald and Irina Simmons, Founders Award for their dedication and loyalty to Chabad of Uptown. 5th anniversary appreciation dinner. I hope we'll do many more. And hope
Thank you. It's a real honor. It's beautiful. Wow. Well, I stand in front of all of you today, a lot of you who are much more stringent in your observation than I am, more learned in Torah than I am, but and we all have different roles in life that we play, and it's sort of a complex world that we live in. And there's, each of us have our own tasks of what we need to achieve in this life. But I think one of the important things is to know what your purpose is in life. And I feel sort of blessed from a professional standpoint. I never really had a hard time knowing what my goals were. You know, when I graduated high school, I knew what I wanted to do. And it was because of my motivation that it was easy for me to accomplish what I've done. It wasn't because I learned the material easily. Actually, I have dyslexia, and that created a challenge, more obstacles for me to overcome, to be able to get through my medical school training. But I was motivated, and my motivation made life easy. You can't learn motivation in a textbook. Motivation comes from deep within your soul. It's something that you're blessed with. Well, what you really need to learn is how can you affect your motivation. If you've read my bio, you saw that I spent time in Israel before I started medical school. And while I was in Israel, I, for the first time, actually had the opportunity to learn some of the wisdom that's within Judaism. And I went through a bar mitzvah and really didn't learn some of the essence of the wisdom within the Jewish faith. But I was fortunate to learn some things for the first time. And the two main concepts that are really within the prayer of the Shema, which we recite, were that there's two perspectives of reality. There's Hashem's perspective of the oneness that interconnects everything around us. And then there's the human perspective, our perspective of the divisions, the separateness between everything. And that our separateness functions within this oneness. Well, I came back from Israel, back to the United States to do my medical school training with this understanding. And I was blessed to finish medical school and to get married and have a beautiful family, and blessed with a career. So I find myself very fortunate to have a healthy family and a good career. But now that I finished those milestones, not finished, but I sort of gotten those along the way, I really jumped on the opportunity when I met Rabbi Chaim, and it was at the Rosh Hashanah service that he had put together. I was there, and he started talking about a new class that he was going to have, a lunch and learn once a week. And I realized, it's time for me to get back and to continue my learning about Torah, about this wisdom, that I know there's deeper understanding within the Torah. And here's an opportunity facing me right in front of me, so I have to jump on the opportunity. When opportunity knocks, you have to answer the door. So I've been participating in these weekly sessions over the last 5 years, and the knowledge has been transforming. And I've learned many things over the last 5 years. And I want to share a few basic points, 5 points that I've come to recognize, and these sort of have helped me continue my growth. Point number 1 is that first also I've come to recognize that Hasidism and Chabad provides a level of understanding of Judaism that we wouldn't have learned hundreds of years ago, because the knowledge that we're getting used to be considered more reserved for only a select few. So it really is through Chabad movement to bring this wisdom and to spread it out to all those who want to learn. And so that has really been very transforming to the Jewish community, the Jewish nation, and to the world. So let me just give you some of the points that I find that are very transforming. Number 1 is that bad events actually create opportunities for change and growth. You're not going to grow when things are all good and fine and dandy. It's when you're challenged by difficult times and there are obstacles to overcome that create the most opportunity for growth, both mentally, spiritually, and just overall as a human being. Number 2, you transform yourself when you're functioning outside of your comfort zone. That you have to put yourself in situations which aren't so smooth, and those are the times where you're really going to grow. Number 3, that it is when you're studying Torah that you are embraced by God, and you are at a level of understanding and level of existence that brings your soul to a higher level. Number 4, that it's possible to change your motivations, to change the essence within your soul that gives you the energy to overcome obstacles, through thought, speech, and action. To remember, it's motivations that allow you to change the world. So through these motivations, changes of thought, speech, and action, you can actually transform yourself. And number 5 is that we live in this world of division that's within this interconnectedness that we'll never understand. And all we see are the divisions. But it's a blessing by God when a person's able to actually see the connectivity and able to look at the world around us and see the, quote-unquote, the hand of God interacting in our world around us. And further to that extent, it's the greatest blessing when this can be recognized during negative times. When there's something bad and you can see something good behind it. That's a blessing to have that ability, because the likelihood to be able to grow from that negative time is if you can see the underlying benefit that's behind that difficult event or events. So I sit in front of all of you today, part of which is to honor me, but really, you know, I want to honor all of you for participating and coming here today, and to recognizing the role of Chabad of Uptown. And I want to just mention that if we let history be a guide, and we realize the opposing forces that are in the world around us, it's important that we have a stronger Jewish community that will help us overcome the adversities that lie ahead when there's greater movements towards an anti-Jewish sentiment that may take place in the future. And it's through a stronger Jewish community that will help us grow and get through those difficult times. And remember, it's the most difficult times that present the greatest opportunity for change. So I want to thank you, Rabbi and Rebbitzin, for giving me this opportunity and this honor. And I want to thank all of you for being here tonight. Thank you very much.
So a man comes to the doctor lamenting that he's forgetting things. Yesterday, you even forget where I live, doctor. I got lost. And the day before, I came...
So instead of spending the 30 minutes before everybody got here writing something, I figure I'm just going to say from the heart. And I apologize if my voice trembles or if I get a little nervous, but I think more it's the cold coming in. So thank you, first of all, everybody, for coming. I am very humbled and honored to be here and being awarded mainly with the Leadership Award. For most of you that don't know, but basically right now I'm giving my intro. I'm originally from Brazil, and we moved here when I was 16 years old. My life in Brazil was all based in the Jewish community. Nothing religion. We were quite secular too on that sense. We'll go to synagogue probably just for Yom Kippur, not even for Rosh Hashanah, I would say. But I was involved with the Jewish youth group, and Israeli dancing was pretty much my life. And I thought that because all my friends were Jewish and would go to the holidays and I was in the Jewish environment, that to me was being Jewish and being a Zionist. Whenever we moved here, I made my mom promise that the only reason I would move here is if we didn't have an Israeli dance group, she would create one. Well, the promise was made, and she created one. And to me, that was like, okay, got involved with everybody, with all the Jewish community, got to know a few people. But I had to stop dancing due to an injury. And then because of that, I fell off the Jewish community. Didn't know really too many people. Most of the people that I knew were a lot older than me. And again, we would go to synagogue only during high holidays. We used to live in Hitchcock. Whoever knows that is right by Texas City. Itty bitty town, okay? So I'm a Brazilian Jew. Can you imagine how much this is different, right? Everybody looked at me, oh, trouble. Here comes trouble. So we used to go to a synagogue back in Galveston. Hurricane Ike comes in, and the island is closed right before Yom Kippur. And we don't know where to go. So I started looking around, and all the shuls around here were already filled, and we really didn't feel connection with anything. Was a little worried and resorted to Facebook. So we have Rabbi Chaim is a very social media savvy, and figured out that a good way to reach out to the young adults was through our own media, right? Facebook. So I go in and I see, oh, okay, Chabad has a service. Mom, what do you think? Well, I don't know. How's the dress code? You know, what do we need to do? Call Chaim. So what is the dress code? How does it work? Do I need to go in? Do I need to reserve? As long as you're a Jew, you're welcome. Okay. Was a little worried still, but I was like, okay, let's go. So I find a little longer skirt, a longer sleeves. And I was like, okay, we'll make it. We'll make it just once. We can do it. Go in, and very nervous, probably more than I am right now. And I see Hani, and Hani comes in, welcome, and gives me this big hug. And I think I felt the connection for the first time, home away from home. And from that point on, I keep coming back for the holidays. This time, not only Yom Kippur, but suddenly we have Sukkot. Oh wow, we celebrate Sukkot. And then we have Hanukkah. I was like, oh, we celebrate Hanukkah. To me, all the Jewish holidays here were very sad in a way, because I was away from my family. And is it cold? Finding Chabad was my family away from home. And today, this is how I feel it. Suddenly, Shabbat is mandatory for me. Not because I have an obligation, but because it's my moment of sanity. It's my moment of family. And I thank you all, but mostly Hani and Chaim, for making us feel, I would say, even the immigrants or even the people that are not raised in Texas, a home away from home. And thank you for being there for us on educational, on spiritually, and even as friends. Thank you so much.